So gymnasts in particular don't have particularly long careers, but I imagine yours was cut a lot shorter than your plan. Was it 21 when you were forced to retire?
24. So I
Done the research clearly, haven't I?
Yeah. I actually, the last time I competed properly though, I was 22.
Right.
So I had a period, and yeah, you're completely right. It sounds ridiculous, doesn't it, retiring at 24 years old? But it's such a demanding sport on the body, and I sort of felt the full force of that. And the thing that changed it for me, I had neck surgery in 2019. I had a disc problem, which it was forced to be removed and replaced with a metal cage and a metal plate, and that. Being me, I was like, the doc said it'd be 12 months. It's a bit and ahhing. 4 months later, I was ready to compete again. Everything, which looking back in hindsight was completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then it caused other nerve damage on that side, and I could never really get to the level that I knew I needed to start challenging for those Olympic medals again. And it started causing next complication in other areas of my neck, and I was just like, look, it's not a wrist that I can just inject or push through. It's my life here that I'm thinking about, and do I really want an Olympic gold medal worth being in a wheelchair? Absolutely not. So
I mean, I suppose it's the sports person's dilemma, isn't it? You probably set some goals, you achieved many, but to have that career cut short, if you're a professional footballer and you have 15, 20 years if you're lucky, and you win titles and you earn a certain amount of money, it's one thing. At such a young age, how is it to deal with that sort of adversity? And also then start thinking, handbrake's been pulled on, I was going in that direction, now I'm going to have to do something else. Was it a dark place for you to be?
Very. And it's still a journey now.
Yeah.
I don't think, I've spoke to a lot of professional athletes in trying to get some perspective on it and some help, and all of them say, look, Nile, it's going to take you years to figure out who you are, because who I am is the gymnast. That's all I know. That was my identity. And I think another thing I really struggled to accept was not fulfilling my potential. I knew how good I was, and because of something out of your control sometimes, I didn't mean for my neck to do what it did, and I had a couple of bad falls in training or whatever, but it's so much harder when it's not your choice. It's sort of put upon you, and I've spent the last 12 months and a little bit before that just trying to figure out who I am and what I want my life to look like. And fortunately, I've got these all amazing things. I'm financially free. I've got some great people around me, but still, you feel there's a huge hole missing. Like you've got a big hole. Yeah. And I've made mistakes in trying to fill that with drinking and partying and gambling and just the usual things that a 24-year-old young lad would do. But I'm getting there now, and I realise it's about what you're doing and who you're around. Yeah, and that's all.
And I think it's not just because you're in your early 20s. I think anyone that comes to the end of what they're known for or what's defined them to that part of their life is a real challenge. I don't know if you ever watched the Harry Potter films, but all the actors and actresses have come together recently, and Daniel Radcliffe was key to say, I don't want to be just known as Harry Potter, which is going to be hard for him. He's probably always going to be known as that, but he's now trying to recreate. So, let's fast forward to lots and lots of years. How would you like Nile Wilson to be, not remembered, but known for? Gymnast is a certain part of your life, and that's never going to leave you, but, what other things do you hope you might achieve?
It's totally right. I mean, the number one thing is a great guy. And
that's cool.
I just want to be a great guy. I just want to be loved for being Nile, and I think in transitioning, that's the difficult bit to try and fit in this life when you've always been the superhuman. Like I'm a performer, I'm a champion, and I'm validated because of that, even subconsciously. But then the people around me, they love me, but I'm still a performer. I'm still a champion. You're Nile, the champion. You're the superhuman that can do things that no one can do. To just be Nile, the guy, like the human, and it's psychological and it's very subconscious. I'm very aware of it, but it's still so difficult to just be Nile, the human. And I think more and more time goes on, I'm okay with that, and I'm actually happy. I want to be known and remembered for being a great guy, and I guess I'm achieving that by the content that I'm producing. Trying to inspire people to do whatever it is they want to do. I'm doing what I love. I'm being myself. But I do, in answer to your question, in 20, 30, 40 years' time, I would like to be known as the guy that changed the sport of gymnastics forever, for a number of reasons. And I feel like I've already achieved that. I've ticked the box, but to take it further, let's make the sport more commercial. Let's have superstars coming through. Let's have a completely new concept where people can watch it on the TV every week, and it's known, it's mainstream like football is, like cricket is, like golf is, and I guess that's partly to do with the direction of my content, but business as well. I'm an entrepreneur.
You clearly are.
I want to say that I've achieved that. So that's the dream. That's a long-term dream.
I mean, I read a lot of autobiographies and listen to podcasts, as many people do, but I believe everyone on this planet has an autobiography. Everyone's got a book in them. You know, the adversity they've faced, the successes at all sort of levels. You know, people talk about climbing their Everest, and that can be at any level. You mentioned earlier on about, you know, Olympic athletes or, you know, participants, you know, just doing a 5-minute walk. This is just a chapter in your life, isn't it? The gymnastics,
definitely.
Performing was a chapter. Now you're doing a little bit more mainstream, or bringing it into that, and the businessman. So you just want a long book with lots of chapters. Right, come on. Wow. And how long have you lived around here?
3.5 years now. Wow, that's crazy actually to say. Yeah, I was moved here when I was 22.
You could be in London, couldn't you? You know, you've got obviously the armouries there. You've got all the boats. Could be the River Thames. This is a really sort of, I suppose, undiscovered part of Leeds.
It's a beautiful spot. It is a beautiful spot, and it's a good place to practice your gratitude. You know, I've like done some cool stuff, but you get wrapped up in the bubble of life, and it's like, wow, look, this is cool. Do you know what I mean?
Expand on that phrase. What does expanding or accepting your gratitude? What do you mean by that?
Gratitude. I mean, it's, for me, like, that's one of the biggest things I think for anyone to practice and do for dopamine to feel good. But then also, if you're stuck in a rut, it's like loads of people have got it worse. And you know, to look where you've come from, and you know, even if times are hard, there's always something to be grateful for. And I think I learned that very early on, and it's something I try and do today, because everyone knows you get stuck in the rat race of life, don't you? And things can be shit, or they can feel rubbish.
I think perspective's a really key word.
Gratitude, perspective.
Yeah.
Look at things for what they are, and you know, just take a step back sometimes and go, actually, you know.
And who do you turn to? So you're still a young man, and we've just seen some of your pals upstairs. Who do you turn to when things are good, but more importantly, who do you turn to when you're having a bad day and you're thinking, this isn't how it was supposed to be? For
me, it's my manager, Luke Sutton. Our relationship has been a journey, but you know, he was an ex-professional cricketer. He won't mind me saying this, has been to rehabilitation for alcohol. So when it comes to things like mental health, and you know, he sees a lot of myself in him, and we were very similar characters, we still are, and he's been through this whole journey and had to turn his life around and pick a different path. I think when I've had some of the battles that I've been through, he's just been an amazing person to have in my life, and I'm so grateful for him. But just to be able to speak, to be able to understand, to be able to listen to his journey and his stories. But yeah, always he's the dial, he's the phone call when things are.
We all need them.
Listen, all need one.
Dealing with adversity is going to be one of our 5 questions, but take a seat, because we're going to take you back to the very beginning. You mentioned Luke's been a professional sportsman himself, as have you. And actually, I think at the end of someone's career is probably when it's at its hardest. But let's go back to the beginning. What's your earliest sporting memory?
One that sticks out for me, I would already at the time, I'm absolutely obsessed with sport as a kid. Like, the reason I got in, I'd split my head up in 3 times just because I was so wild and climbing up everything.
Is that
you see the scars, yeah. So my mum and dad took me along to gymnastics to get me some more spatial awareness. I still fall over now, but at least I know where my body is. But one that stands out for me, I did everything at school. I remember the Athens Olympics 2004. I watched this Russian gymnast called Alexei Nemov on the high bar. I was participating in gymnastics at the time, but not seriously. And he did this high bar routine where he did 5 release and catch moves, and he did a dismount that had 2 twists and 2 somersaults, and he stuck it dead. Yeah. And I was like, I remember looking at him, I was like, I want to do that. I'm going to do that. Yeah. And then when I've almost got goosebumps telling the story, because that was my high bar was my speciality, and I got a medal at the Olympics on there, doing the same dismount, the same moves. So it's been a special journey, but that one will always stick out for me. I remember it so vividly, watching it on the TV, just thinking, that's me, I'm going to do it.
And how old were you?
7 or 8 years old.
And isn't that the wonderful thing about sport, and especially the Olympics and something like gymnastics? It's an accessible sport.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can literally do it. If you look at parkour, it's a variation of gymnastics, isn't it? You could be bouncing around here like Spider-Man.
Absolutely.
And that's the whole purpose of you know, these talks. Be inspired. You know, hopefully children out there are thinking, I could be the next Nile Wilson, I could be the next Alistair Brownlee, I can be the next Monty Panesar.
Mm-hmm.
But it starts with that being inspired that day one, doesn't it?
Yeah, you need a dream.
Yeah.
You need something that gets fire in your belly,
Yeah.
this desire. And I think, you know, that's the journey I'm on now. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be the next Nile Wilson or the Alistair Brownlee. Just get active. Do something that you enjoy. You know, like I'm a big advocate and like talking to people about our physical health is so important and it's talked about. But a lot of the time we think we need to join a gym and we think we need to go on the treadmill. And it's boring. It's so boring. Yeah. And it's like, well, do you know what? Actually, you can join in gymnastics. You can do some dancing. You can play five-a-side football with your mates. You can. There's numerous things, and with my content, us mixing the sports, us trying different things, it just hopefully inspires people to go, I'm going to join that class. I'm going to go to an adult gymnastics. I'm going to go to adult gymnastics one time and see what it's like. And it's not because I want to be the best shape of my life. It's because I want to learn a backflip. Yeah. But whilst learning a backflip, you will get into the best shape of your life. Yeah. So it's switching your thinking.
Yeah, and just being active.
Yeah.
You know, a 5-minute walk, a 10-minute walk can do wonders, can't it, for your mental and physical health?
100%. And I know I'm going off on tangents here, but me retiring, I realised I needed physical activity for my mental health. Yeah. Not because I wanted to look like the superhuman that I always did, just because if I don't train or I'm not active, you know, up there it can get a bit cloudy.
Cool. Well, speaking of walking and getting active, we're best add. We've got a long way to go. Come on.
Needs a good dismount. Winds up, kicks into the air, wraps in, double twisting, double back. Well, he took one of the skills out. That was absolutely phenomenal. Come on, indeed.
So from being that young Nile Wilson, watching Russian athletes at the Olympics on TV, to being an Olympic athlete yourself, I'm presuming that's maybe your greatest sporting memory or achievement, but what is it?
It is, yeah. I mean, when you've got an Olympics in the mix, it's difficult to not say that that's my greatest memory, which it is absolutely, you know, the feeling of being there, just being there. Yeah. But then, you know, having success was just so special. Just like it's an indescribable, euphoric moment, you know. And like I do want to say though, you know, in terms of my career, I think one that stands out to me. I was a junior. I was 18 years old, so it was just the stepping stone in like making the senior team. And I was only 20 when I did the Olympics, so to go from 18 as a junior to literally 2 years later, it was a bit unheard of. I had this really smooth transition. I was doing the Junior European Championships, and the reason it stands out is because all eyeballs were on me. Like I came second 2 years prior, so it was like Nile's going to win, and the expectation sort of on my shoulders. And I went out there and I made a mistake on my second apparatus. So I was down in 13th, 14th place after in gymnastics there's 6 apparatus. And anyway, I did the next 4 routines, did the routines of my life and won the gold. So that really stands out because it has pressure that I've never felt in my life before. Then also a little bit of adversity, thinking this isn't going to go the way I wanted it to because I had a mistake. But then I got up and still won the competition, and that reason for that was I was 2 months later in the Commonwealth Games team, then the World's team, and that if that competition and that moment didn't happen and I didn't win, maybe things would have been different. So I always look back on that moment and think, that was when I knew that's where I belonged there, that I could handle it.
And there's a whole series of life lessons just in that short space of time.
Absolutely.
So you've failed to some extent, you've underperformed, you've got the adversity, you've got a chance to come back, you think you've blown your big chance, and then you end up getting the gold.
Absolutely.
And it might not have been at the highest platform like the Olympics, but it taught you, this is how life's going to be, ups and downs.
It was a stepping stone. It wasn't in a sports hall, it was an arena. It was it was with the big boys. We were just juniors, and that happens every 2 years. So I think that for me, that's the turning point in my career. That was like, we're going this way now. It's going to happen.
Excellent. Right, best get going. Come on.
Round off triple back from 5 metre diving
diving board with air tracks. Come on!
Come on.
You are the sunshine in my life.
See, let's have a breather. It is nice, isn't it? It really is cool. And there's Sky TV. Clearly, you probably want to do a bit more TV. You're a natural in front of the camera. Would you say you're a natural performer? Is that what gymnasts generally are?
Well, I wouldn't say necessarily gymnast. I think it's what separates the greatest in sport from whatever you call the level underneath. Because there's a lot of great people in it, a lot of great gymnasts that experience even better than me in training. But like you mentioned, that performance when it really mattered, when the pressure was on, when you were in the moment, when you had to do it. You know, not everyone can deal with that pressure, and I fortunately could. I don't. When you ask me how, it's a difficult one to answer. I think something you can definitely train, and we had a lot of support with psychologists and psychology, but I also think it's something that you just you're naturally born with.
It's a gift, isn't it? It's a
personality.
personality.
When pressure was on, or when people were watching, or when there's a camera on me, or when I just did things. I did things better since I was little. Yeah. So I just went with that, and I loved it as well.
Speaking of being little, so next question, moving the journey on. You're still an extremely young man, so this will be a different question when I ask some of our other guests. But what advice would you give to a younger Nile? That Nile that watched the Olympics at 8, or Nile at 12, or that 16-year-old Nile? You know, it's not too young. You're not too young to reflect on what you've done. But if you were to give some advice to, you know, quantum leap here, a 12-year-old Nile's going to walk past, and you're going to grab him and go, Nile, what are you going to say to them?
That's a good question. Put me on the spot. Do you know what? I think one that stands out and springs to mind is staying present. Yeah. And I know we've touched upon it, but I love a quote. I think it's something like, "I wish I knew the good times when I was in the good times." Yeah. And I certainly, in retiring, that just rings bells in my head, because I look back at the things that I've done, and the moments that I've had, and the physical places I've been in, the mental states I've been in, and I just want to go back and do it again. Yeah. And when I was doing it, when I was living it, I maybe took it for granted a little bit. And not saying that those are better than those times, but it's the message is just trying the best to stay present. Yeah. You know, humans have always got something to complain about. We always take the easy route. We always are looking what's next, or reminiscing what has been, and never the focus is here, right now. Like, I'm sat on Lee's dock, I'm having a great chat. Probably going to go for a pint after this. It's going to be great. Yeah. It's like that's today. Yeah. And I think, you know, I really try and live and breathe that now. Yeah. Just make today a good day. Times that by 365. What can you do in a year? And I just think, I look back, stay present, Nile, and trust the process. You do it. You know.
I think experience teaches you that, you know, there are certain sticky situations you get in life, and they may be never as bad as you think they are at the time. And there's some wonderful phrases. You just mentioned one there. Mark Twain's got a wonderful phrase, which is, "I spent too long worrying about things that never happened." Mm-hmm. The amount of times you worry about something, it never happens. Or equally, mindfulness and being in the moment's a real key one. And I have two children now, which change your perspective on everything. My son is 11 now. He's obsessed with his hair. Mm-hmm. He sweeps it back like you, so he's probably watching you, and he wants to be the next Jordan Henderson. But he spends time looking at his hair, etc. And I remember doing the same thing. But every little thing that they're going through, I go, I remember doing that. Doesn't stop me telling them off for doing it. But I suppose life, as we said earlier on, is a journey, isn't it? So your key bit of advice to anyone would be just, stay focused, enjoy the now.
Enjoy the now, stay present, like I say, be mindful, and then control the controllables. Yeah. Control what you can control, think about what you can control. You're totally right there. Like, you'll do it. You'll make up scenarios and conversations and have fights with people, or win or lose or whatever in your head that's not real. Yeah. And that sometimes can cause worry, anxiety, and stress and all those things, and it's not real.
So I suppose, what's next for you? How have you managed to transition from, you know, the regularity of training to this chaos? Any other sporting pursuits? Anything you've got we should know about?
I'm a golfer now.
A golfer?
I'm a good one.
Oh, yeah. What do you play?
Well, I'm off 9. Well, I've rocketed down from 20 to 9 in the last year. Yeah. So that's been my absolute obsession since, and it's really helped me just sort of give me a purpose and make me feel like I'm still an athlete, because there's so many. It's very much like gymnastics, where it's a sport, but there's so many and different sections of it that you got to learn and master, similar to different apparatus.
Yeah.
So there's, and I just absolutely love it. You get fresh air. There's a social aspect to it.
Yeah.
So I've been playing tons and tons of golf every week, and then I don't know. I'm just going to continue what we're doing. You've had a little taste today, and you come up to the flats, and we've got a squad, we've got a team. We're all making content together. It's, our job's to try and, like you're doing here, distract people for 10 minutes a day.
Yeah.
And put a big smile on their face and make them laugh, and that's genuinely, I get so much love and enjoyment out of that, and I'm going to continue to do it.
And it's something that looks very natural, which it is, and it's chaotic, and it can be anything. Is there a bit of pressure on you as well to come up with that next big thing, or if a video doesn't get as many views as the previous one or likes, do you feel disappointed? Are you cool with that? Or?
Yeah, it's similar to being an athlete. It's a tough mental game. There's peaks and troughs, and there's times where things maybe aren't as relevant, and you aren't getting the views, and the business isn't performing the way you want it. But it's like everything in life, and I just try and step away from it, disconnect myself from numbers, and just think, right, well, I want to make this video this week, so I'm going to do it, and I'm going to have fun with my mates doing it. If it goes on to be viral and be 100 million views, then buzzing. If it don't, people still watching, and I know I'm still inspiring at least one person. So that's the mindset I try and adopt.
Have you heard of the famous athletics coach Frank Dick?
No.
Deadly serious.
No.
Wonderful, wonderful athletics coach, and there's a brilliant YouTube clip that you must watch of him. And it's about performance, it's about training athletes, but it's also about life. And he's asked about, teaching young athletes to eventually be Olympic athletes. And he said the key is just to try be better today than you were yesterday.
Love it.
So brilliant quote. He goes, first young athlete that he taught came last in the race. Came 8th out of 8 sprinters, and she said, "I've lost. I've done terribly." He goes, "No. What was your time?" "I don't know, 16 seconds." He goes, "Well, you've never run 16 seconds before. So next time you've got to do 15.9. If you come 8th, but you're going against yourself, and then eventually. So it's like with golf, isn't it? You're on 9, the aim's to get to 8,
into
7,
course,
6, 5.
Absolutely.
And then if you beat your mates and take a few quid off them, happy days.
Brilliant. I absolutely love that quote, and I don't think, if you're not on that journey yourself, to be just genuinely, can I be better tomorrow than I was today?
Yeah.
Can I be better today than I was yesterday?
Yeah.
Do you think like that? And if you do, amazing, so do I.
Yeah.
I assume you do. But lots of people don't.
Yeah. No, it's
just
hard.
It's just
hard.
the same, and it's okay that you don't, but maybe let's just shift the dial a little bit. Can I be a little bit better today than I was yesterday in any way? You don't have to jump, you don't have to climb a mountain, but you can take one step. And I think that's where people start.
I think you're right. There's always tomorrow. And again, another famous Yorkshireman, Sir Captain Tom Moore, used to say, didn't he, last year, during the real depths of the pandemic, tomorrow's going to be a good day. And no matter what you've done today, you might have created the biggest mess of your life today. And again, we're going to meet some wonderful people on this journey in the next few weeks that have had real adversity. Jamie Lawrence going to prison and then turning his life around, and various other sportsmen. But starts today. Niall, I've really enjoyed
the
today.
sun comes up tomorrow. The sun always comes up tomorrow.
What are you doing now then? Where are you going?
Well, we're off for a beer in the Canary. Come on, I'll buy you a pint. It's Friday afternoon.
I'm a professional athlete, but just the one.
We're all retired
Good man.
now.
Good man. Thanks for that, mate.
Pleasure.
Enjoyed it.
Let's do it.